Welcome to Power of the Tribe podcast. I'm John Connors, your host. I'm also the founder and head instructor of Connors Martial Arts. We teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to kids, teens, and adults. We also teach Muay Thai kickboxing and mixed martial arts. Reach out to us. We'll make your life better. We'll turn you into the next
Way
Dan
better.
Robin.
Way better.
Way better. You'll just love it. You'll be jumping out of bed. Dan, and I'm with my host, Dan Robin. Dan, did you jump out of the bed this morning?
I did.
You did?
I'm pretty quick to wake.
Nice.
I'm not a groggy guy in the
Do
morning.
you get up to an alarm clock?
No. Well, I set one, but then I always wake up before it.
That's
I'm
pretty
one of those
good.
guys with the internal alarm. Like,
Yeah.
I always wake up before it. So,
And do you sleep pretty good?
yeah, pretty good.
You know, I have my Oura-ring measuring my sleep.
Yep. How
Yeah.
you doing?
Well, I went through a period when I was in Italy. I didn't sleep hardly at all. And then when I got back, I caught a cold, and my sleep was terrible. And I'm over the cold, and my sleep has been great the last few days.
We talked about what I think about insomnia. Like, I know people suffer from it, but I think one of the main reasons people suffer from it is because they're worried about it. Like, they wake up
It's
like,
a negative feedback loop. You
yeah,
mean.
they're like, oh my God, I'm not getting any sleep and I'm
Mhm.
not going to be ready for this test tomorrow. And then they can't sleep.
Yeah.
For me, the key was, well, first of all, I heard this study that was like, you can function pretty much 100% missing an entire night of sleep, like literally just staying up all night.
When you say function, you mean physically, mentally?
Both.
Both.
You're basically fine.
Okay.
Like, you don't feel good, but you basically you get the same scores. 2 nights, everything starts to deteriorate. But that's literally staying up all night, not like I'm having trouble sleeping.
Oh, I see.
But when I heard that, it helped me a lot. Like, the idea is, if I feel like I can't sleep, I'm like, so what? All right. Like, that's my attitude. I'm like,
So it breaks the feedback loop for you.
yeah, it's like, fine. So I won't sleep. I'll just lie here awake and it'll be fine. And then you sleep.
I
And I
heard
think
that.
that would help a lot of people if they could stop. If they're like,
Yeah.
I can't sleep, but who cares? Then they'll sleep.
I think I heard that about GSP. He doesn't sleep the night before his fights, and he performs terrific.
Yeah. The other thing is that people think they're not sleeping and they're sleeping. Like all the time I'll be like, I haven't slept at all. And it's 3 a.m. And then it's like, really? So you can remember the last 3 hours?
Mm.
I'm like, oh, wait, no, I can't remember 3 hours of
Mm.
lying here. So it's obvious that I was,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're just kind of lightly sleeping. Or you're not getting
Right.
too heavy sleep and you feel like you didn't sleep at all, but you're sleeping.
Yeah.
It's just another reason to be like, it's fine. I don't care. Stop
Right.
worrying about it. Stop keying yourself up. And then people are like, I had to get out of bed and read a book. And it's like, don't do it. Just go back to sleep. Just lie
Mm.
there and close your eyes and think about stuff and you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the
Yeah,
answer to everything these days. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or it might not. Whatever.
Yeah, you won't be fine. That's fine. That's okay too.
Well, we are living in pretty good times, right?
Yeah.
Did
People
Steven
are so-
Pinker come out with a book that explains that, how stuff is pretty good right now? It's better than it's ever been in the history of humanity.
Yeah. Well, again, we might have even touched on this before, but there's a sort of attitude of like we're living in really trying times. We're also old enough, probably everyone listening is old enough to realize you hear that all the time.
Right.
Like it was like the 80s, it was the Cold War,
Right.
it was horrible times.
100 years
Yeah,
ago, we just had come off of World War I,
Yeah.
where tens of millions of people got killed.
Yeah, the Civil War. And
Mm.
it was unclear if Nazi Germany was going to win when
Mm.
our parents were babies. It's sort of
Mm.
like we're not in the worst times and it's all fine.
I think by any objective measure, we're in the best times ever.
Yeah.
Not to say there's no risks, but things are pretty good.
For some reason, there's a part of humanity that doesn't like that. They want to be in desperate, dire times.
I think so.
You hear it with the environment argument, and I've told you before, I'm pro-environment guy. I like hiking in the woods. I like clean water. I like all, it's all obvious to me. But so I'm not saying I'm anti this movement, but there's clearly a part of the environmental movement that's just, they like it. They like the idea of doom.
Well, human nature tends to value the negative twice as much as the positive. So we're programmed to be looking out for danger. And the media sort of instinctively plays on that. So they use the word crisis a lot. Everything's basically some crisis that seems to get the best ratings, the most eyeballs, and the most ears.
Another thing that I've noticed, and this is just among people I know, like Facebook friends, but it obviously applies to all humanity, is that there's a large percentage of people that they're not playing the odds correctly, and they're nervous all the time about. So the easiest example is like new parents that are like, someone's going to snatch my kid off the street. And it's like, you're more at risk for, I don't know, like a meteor hitting them. Like, it's not going to happen. They're not going to get snatched off the street.
Now, did you feel that way, Dan, when your children were young?
No. I mean, you have, not really, but I mean, you have it occurs to you.
I remember, Dan, I was a very conscientious parent. I don't know if that's not the right word, but yeah, I had my eyeballs on them every freaking second. And
so
I was
saying
terrified.
I was not a conscientious. But
no, conscientious isn't the right word. I was hyper conscientious, and I think that's what you're saying.
I think
some people are
hyper conscious.
Yeah.
I think what it is that people.
Well, part of it is you don't want to be when the kid gets snatched, they go, well, where are the parents? You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the first thing that the general public.
But there's two things.
Say,
one
right?
is that lack of really thinking what the odds are. So you have you live in one of these towns around here, and people are like, I have 15 cameras and motion detectors, and I have this system in place, a safe room for a home invasion. And being like, does it matter to you that no one in this county or any adjacent county, any of the homes have ever been invaded, ever? Do you know what I mean? Like, and the first one's going to be yours. Like, do you know what I mean? It's sort of like you're going to like really large measures to prevent something that is not going to happen. But the other thing is this, that I've thought about this, that humanity suffers from the weird ability we have, which I think we're the only animal to have it, of picturing things in your mind.
Yeah, definitely.
And so the main thing when you talk about a kid getting snatched, you picture it happening and it's unbearable, right? It's like an unbearable image. And I think it short circuits a lot of people's brains. Like you picture it and you're like, that is so awful. And then it gets your heart racing.
I will do anything to eliminate, to extinguish all risks, even the infinitesimal risks that you're pointing out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's a problem in many ways of humans that we have this thing that we can picture things.
Yeah. I mean, it's our greatest strength it's the cause of a lot of our suffering as well.
Right. I mean, we've talked about on here for like an altercation in traffic, and you're picturing what you should have said and picturing alternatives.
Right.
And I think our brain makes us suffer a lot picturing things.
We do. And then there's that whole theory of mind thing where we imagine another person's motives and their intent. And I think they've done studies, and we're largely inaccurate in our assessments of other people's motives and intents.
I have a perfect example from earlier today, which is I can name, there's like 6 people in my life that like I was emailing or in contact with, and then they just cut everything off.
Oh, they didn't get back to you?
Yeah, gone. But not like one email. Like they just like seemed to cut me off.
About 6 people did that to you, Dan?
Completely. It's a ballpark.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
You're like, only 6? 60. I meant 6. But like, and
so what's the record you start playing in your head?
Well, I'm not positive, but you start going through like, are they mad about this? Are they mad about that? And by the way, I'm pretty this is not coming from a place of lack of self-confidence. It's like, I'm not like, what did I do? I'm like, what stupid reason do they have for cutting me off?
So you're assuming they have a reason that's completely illegitimate.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, they must be mad at me for some stupid reason or petty reason.
Right.
But then I start playing through, like, what are they mad about this? Are they mad about that? Like, what are they doing? I'm not talking about people that I know why they're mad at me. I'm talking about people I'm not sure what happened.
Dan, I'm going through one of these right now. Oh, really? I do it all the time. Yeah.
Someone just cut you out?
They didn't cut me out.
They're just not getting...
There was a little bit of lack of communication, and then I texted them, and I got nothing. And then I saw them on Instagram, so I Instagram messaged them, and I got a relatively curt reply. And I was like, what's that all about?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing
I too said, what illegitimate reason do they have a grievance against me?
Yeah. What stupid reason do they have for... But you play it all through, and then you like sometimes...
So do you have a story where you found out what the real story behind it was?
But sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I get like, I can think of a couple examples, but one, I was like getting myself into like a fury at this person. You know what I mean? Sort of like,
You're all lathered up.
idiot thinks I'm like, so this was someone I knew in high school.
Okay.
And we got back in touch through email. And they had written me a letter at one point, and I found.
So they wrote you a physical letter?
Yeah, like when we were in college.
Oh.
And so I was like, I dug it up. I was going through things, and I found this letter, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, I was throwing a lot of stuff out, and I was like, I'll just mail it to them, and say, hey, look what you sent me.
Oh.
Because I was still going to
That's
throw it.
Nice.
I was going to throw it anyway.
Was there some nice sentiments in the letter? Yeah.
And I was like, hey, look what you sent me in
Wasn't
back
that cool?
in college. And it wasn't, just to be clear, also, it wasn't like romantic. It wasn't romantic.
This wasn't one of your lovers?
No, it was not. So, but which is key to the story, because that
Okay.
would make it sensible. So I just sent that, and then
So you did mail it to this person?
yeah, and then they stopped emailing me completely after I sent
You
that
freaked
letter.
them out.
And then I'd wait 6 months and be like, hey, what's up? Blah blah blah, and like nothing again. 6 months later, I'd be like, so blah blah blah, and like nothing.
So
again.
Dan, can I ask for some clarification? So this is somebody you knew in college, and
I knew them in high school.
you knew them in high school. They sent you this lovely letter in college.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime,
And it was funny. It was like a funny letter with like
cool.
pictures. And
Yeah,
stuff.
cool. So in the meantime, you would like every 6 months or so exchange an email with them? How was your no?
I fell completely out of touch for
Fell
like
completely
10,
out of touch.
15 years, whatever it was.
Okay.
Got back in touch.
Got back in touch, and then it was like what, every few months you would get an email exchange?
Yeah.
Every few months for how long? Like a year?
Something like
Something
that.
like that. Then you came across this old letter. Oh, what should I do this? Oh, I'll just send it back to them. They'll get
Yeah.
a kick out of it.
I think I even shot them an email at the same time. Said, hey, I mailed you this thing. I thought you get a kick out of it.
Yeah. And then bam.
Done.
Did they respond to the
Nothing.
email where you said you might
I
get a
have
kick
not
out of
heard
this?
from them again to this day. It's like 15 years later or whatever. Like
They're like, Dan is a serial killer. He's
Nothing.
been keeping.
So I invented
Trophies
all
of me.
these stories in my head of like overbearing, jealous husband saw it and was like, "Who's this guy sending you a
Oh, so
letter?"
this was a woman. Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and then it was like, or like she thought that and I'm like, and I follow these.
I would go, oh, yeah, maybe they think I want to have some kind of romantic
Yeah, yeah.
thing, so they're just getting a healthy distance.
Right, but I was getting
Yeah.
mad too because I was like, she lives in another state. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, and I never ever said, let's meet up or
Yeah.
let's like,
Yeah,
you know,
crazy
it's
talk, yeah.
never even like said, hey, we could meet for dinner, like nothing.
Hmm.
So it's sort of like,
So you're getting a little indignant.
and I even sent the email that said, hey, just sending you this, thought you'd get a kick out of it. So, but I'd follow indignant, but then these images in my mind, I get in whole furious, like fury at like her and her husband.
And you
Like,
play
what-
out these arguments.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they say this, and
Yeah.
then you come back with this clever response.
Possibly picturing, choking the husband out, like, just like getting so angry. And later it was like, so that, and this went on for later. It turns out like I sent that letter right during like this like horrible time in her life. Like she had like a terrible divorce and terrible like,
So she was
upheaval.
going through a divorce when she got that from you?
Right when I
Okay.
sent it, yeah.
Yep.
like a terrible upheaval
Yep.
in her life, which is in theory the explanation.
Okay.
The only caveat is still haven't heard from her, so she's not 100% off the hook in my opinion. But it seems like I was totally wrong to picture like, oh, she thinks that, he thinks this,
You know what I suspect? Yeah, I think sometimes when people go through a divorce, it's so disturbing that they don't want to talk to anybody, and
That's what
they
it
got
seems like.
so much on their plate. They're just like, I just can't I can't friggin' deal with any of this. Yeah.
And that's what I picture. And that, the broader topic is your mind making up these whole story after story, and maybe none of them are right. So I think that for all the people that haven't got back, who've sort of vanished from my life, I'm like, who knows what's going on?
Who
Like,
knows?
you can tell all these
Yeah.
stories, but then
Dan, I struggle with this all the time, and I think because I'm the head of an academy, there's just greater throughput. There's more people coming in my life and leaving my life. You know what I mean? I'm like this rock in the middle of a stream, and it's all just washing by me. And
I bet a lot of the people that you think like, oh, maybe they're mad about this or that, or maybe they're unhappy because of this or that. If you ask them, they'd be like, I don't know. I just went to another, I just
stopped or
I
whatever.
just stopped, or I just went to another
But it is
academy,
annoying when you reach out to somebody and you get the no reply.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I think we've gone through a big change. I think, in the 80s, early 90s, if somebody didn't reply to you, that was a significant response in and of itself. But now there's so much messaging flying around that it's almost not that big of a deal if somebody doesn't get back to you. It's
yeah, but
overwhelming,
I haven't progressed with society. I still treat it. I still get.
I totally do. How dare they?
I don't forgive anybody.
How
I'm
dare
always
you.
like, you couldn't shoot me like a hey, thanks for writing. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of ways to do a one sentence reply, and
I agree.
and so when people don't, I basically don't forgive them.
Yeah,
I don't forgive people.
I've taken that to the grave.
No reply me.
Yeah, screw them.
I'm unapologetic about it.
Know what I've done
If I
before?
get no replied, forget that person's out of my life.
This is 1%, Dan, maybe.
Yeah.
I've done this before. On Facebook, I start typing in my message to reply to them, and then my phone rings. I lose my spot, and in my mind, I remember replying to them, and I never sent the message. Like, I didn't hit the little arrow to send it. And so that could happen.
Be too. Also, this doesn't apply to people that I know all the time. Like if it's sort of like a one-off, like a high school friend or a, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
So, it's not someone that we send 10 messages a week and they don't reply to one. I'm talking about like
right.
people that it's like, hey, I haven't seen you. Oh, I haven't seen you since high school. How's it been? And nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm always assuming that people hate my guts, can't stand me, and through very little fault of my own.
yeah.
Or I did something, I don't even know what I did.
People are weird though. I just
Yeah.
remembered, you reminded me of one where I had a traumatic moment in my life in second grade where I was me and this girl were forced to, like we had to sing in front of the school.
In front of
Like
the whole school.
Yeah, like a romantic song to each other.
Let me guess. Islands in the Stream?
No, it was it was like old school Broadway. It's Lavender, Blue, Dilly, Dilly. It was called. I'll never forget. I still remember the words, maybe all,
Really?
but like
I never
because
heard
I was
that
so
one.
traumatized.
What is that
well, it's
from?
like from like Oklahoma or
No,
some,
right.
maybe not literally, but some
Might be
show
though,
like
right?
that, yeah. And like I was hard. I remember, I can even remember to this day, literally second grade, the teacher being like, "Okay."
Now, why did they choose you two?
I don't know, cute little kids, I think.
You were cute, huh?
Yeah. So like, there are other cute kids.
No.
But
And were you a good singer?
no.
No.
I mean,
I would
don't know,
imagine
second
you
grade,
have
I was a little
musical
kid.
talent.
I was a little kid.
Okay.
So that I still remember the teacher picking her, and then being, and the boy will be. Can you believe I remember this clearly from
And you
second
heard a little
grade?
drum roll?
I tried to get another kid's head in between me and the teacher. Like I maneuvered
Yeah.
and this,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a second grader. That's like, what is that, 8 years old? Like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like maneuvered my head, and I just saw her like crane her neck around, and I'd be like, Danny. And I was like, I knew it. Like I still remember as a second grader thinking, I knew it. I knew I was going to get picked for this. I was horrified all leading up to it.
You had to memorize this song.
Yeah, and in second
you
grade,
rehearse?
there's nothing you can do. You're like a slave. You can't be like, I'm not going to do it. Like, so I had to sing this thing, and, and like, I think we had to do like a horrifying, like little sort of twirling dance, like hold each other's hands and
nice.
sing like,
Yeah.
and it's like the most like Broadway foo-foo kind of song. It was just terrible for me. And it was like every parent like, oh, that's
so
darling,
adorable.
that's
Yeah.
adorable, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is horrible. And so anyway, that teacher, it came up on Facebook, one of these groups, like the teacher's still alive. And my second grade teacher
This
was
teacher
just
will
getting
not
pretty.
die.
Yeah, I'm not surprised if you knew her. But like, she was someone who had like that surprisingly strong grip. She'd just like grab you, and it would be like this bony, like it was like a machine grabbing you, and you just be like, my God, the strength, the grip strength. She'd like pull you, like, and the hand would be cold and like just pulling you, and you just be like.
That's
the
a real
grip.
old person move.
Yeah.
I noticed that. And I also wonder, why did they do that? And I figured out why. You know why? Because they're so freaking boring that you would just run away and not listen to them.
but
So they grab you by the wrist and they hold on and they go, now I'm going to talk to you.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
And it's like a steel claw, and you just can't.
You wriggle. That's why you studied martial arts, so you can
Yeah,
know to
I'd
go against
just
the
get out of
thumb and get the hell out of there.
That teacher. So actually, I'm getting off track, but like, I was the only kid in my first grade who got. So everyone in my elementary school had the same teacher for first and second grade,
Okay.
except me.
Except Dan Robin.
Yeah,
Huh.
I was like, for some reason, something in me in first grade ran amok. I was like an amok kid. Like, I'd jump up on the desk and run around and just like.
You had a little energy.
Yeah, I had energy.
Yeah.
I didn't know. You know, I was little. What are you? First grade is baby.
You're a baby.
So, yeah. So, and obviously, teacher didn't know how to control me.
So they go, we got to give this kid to somebody with some grip strength.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, really, they moved me. They were like, we need to move him over there. And I came in the first day, but I was told like, oh, you're going to have a new teacher this year. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
And
you don't know what the precedences are.
Exactly. Right? And so I went in and she took me the first day with the grip, like slowly squeezing, like more and more till like at first it's friendly. Then you're like, you're crushing my, and then she was just talking to me and she goes, so I heard, what you were like in the other class. I just want you to know I'm not having it in this class. Like where, and I was like, what now? Like I didn't know that I was moved because of my behavior at all.
Yeah. You're like,
and it was like,
if I had known any of that was frowned upon.
Yeah, I knew. She was like, you had to be moved because you thought you were, you could do whatever you want. I'm like, I had to be moved? I thought I could do whatever I want? What? I didn't know what you're talking about. Like, it was so scary. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And
you feel like you're being falsely accused a little bit.
Yeah, and then one of the early days in that class too, I had someone sitting next to me. I remember who this is too. Who the guy and he put his our desks were a little apart, and he had his hand on the side of his desk. So this is like weak.
So you slammed your desk into his hand?
But by mistake.
Oh.
Like our desks were separate, and I moved my desk like to just straighten it out.
Yep.
And it smashed his fingers.
Uh-huh.
And it did this big theatrical like, and everyone looking. And she glared over, and I'm like, like a little kid, like I was moving the desk, and she had this look like, so up to your old tricks, and I'm like, I didn't. So I was terrorized that year. I think so. I was
you were a known criminal.
So I misbehaved all first grade, and then I was like a quiet kid from second grade to like sometime in
college,
school. Yeah. So like I was crushed. My spirit was crushed. So anyway, that's the class, and she picked me out for this song, and then I had to sing it. So I found out this teacher's still alive. She's 111.
Wow.
Or whatever. Not really, but like whatever she is.
She's up there.
She's old, and so I Facebooked the girl that I sang the song with.
Okay.
And was like, hey, what's up? Like, and we, I also went to all through high school with the same girl. It's not like I hadn't seen her since second grade.
So you have an acquaintance with her?
Not really.
Well, you know you know each other.
Yeah. So I said,
you didn't have to explain who you are and what's going on.
I said, hey, so when we graduated sixth grade, each teacher said, what do you like my memories of this class, of when you were in my class.
Okay.
And this teacher had like 3 memories, and one was
the finger smashing.
No, it was Danny and Denise singing "Lavender, Blue, Dilly, Dilly, how precious" or something like that. So I knew this was like a memory for this teacher. So me being nice, I wrote. This is what it was. This girl that I sang it with is the one that sang the song with, said, my family's still in touch with this teacher, like where our parents know each other or something like that.
Okay.
So she's still alive. She said, she's still alive. My parents talk to her. We see her from time to time.
Yeah.
So I wrote to her and said, hey, I'm surprised to hear she's still alive. Do you remember we sang Lavender, Blue, Dilly, Dilly? Like maybe mention it to her. It seemed to be a memory at the time that she liked or appreciated, or, if she's a million years old, maybe it's like a nice little memory for her.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
Even though I was traumatized by it, ha, 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 blah, blah, blah. Nothing. No reply. Which is how the story started. Like, gone. Like, she just iced me. So I'm like, what?
What's that all about?
Again, you can't be like, oh, ha, ha, I'll mention it.
Yeah, that was funny.
Maybe,
whatever.
And say you have no intention of bringing it up with her. yeah, maybe I'll mention it to her. Good to hear from you. Done. Like literally 10 seconds of your life, right? How do you I can't justify it. And now I'm telling the story. Maybe she doesn't remember who I am. There's a lot of dopey people out there, who don't remember anything, so.
Maybe, yeah.
I've gone to reunions where they're like, which elementary school was I in? Like people don't remember anything, they're like, which class were we in? I have to tell them. I'll be like, we weren't friends and I don't know you at all, but I know you went to this. I know you were in Popham or, I know you were in Butler School. Like,
I remember the elementary school I went to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think people should.
Yeah. It was a Catholic school, a lot of nuns, a lot of smacking in the face. I probably have head trauma, so I forgot some of it from brain injury, but yeah.
So I don't forgive, though, like this no reply is what we're saying. And then from there, you also...
Dan, I'm going to be sure to reply to you from now on.
But I don't forgive the no replies, and then I also start telling the stories in my head, which is how the whole thing started, of people suffering from their imagination. Which is how the whole thing got started.
Right.
Which is you start going like, what's the matter with this person? Are they mad because of this? Or do they think I'm this kind of person? Or they think I'm kind of stalker? Or like, are they like, what the hell? And you start telling stories and getting mad. When a lot of the times it's none of that. Like if you actually could confront the person, it would be like, oh, sorry, I was busy. Or, oh, yeah, I meant to get back to you and then I forgot about it. Or, it's usually a lot more harmless than the stories you tell. I don't think you tell yourself better stories. I don't think you ever walk away thinking like, oh, they're probably busy when they actually hate you. You know what I mean? It's sort of at least, is that just me?
I just assume everybody hates me.
Yeah, that's what, but yeah. I think, isn't that human nature? I think the stories you tell yourself are always worse than reality.
Probably, yeah.
And for jiu-jitsu, don't you think that's true too? Like people are all, we've mentioned it in a slightly different context here, but like the stories you're telling yourself about what people think and how you're performing and what's running through your head is almost always worse than reality. I guess there's a few optimists that are out there thinking everything's great when it's actually bad. But I think it usually works the other way.
Yeah, I think, well, if we lived in a tribe or a little village, our reputation has a lot of value. So we're probably sort of inherited programming to have a concern about what our tribe, our village thinks about us. An inflated
concern, right? Like
a sharp concern about that, which in today's society, you can be a complete ass and just move to California and start over again. And you know what I mean? You can completely burn bridges here in today's day and age, everywhere you want. And you're not stuck. Yeah, back in Stone Age times, it could mean death if you fell in ill favor with the tribe, right?
Yeah, and you're saying we have the same instincts now.
I think we have the same instincts in a very different environment. But it probably causes people to behave better if they're worried about what the tribe is going to think, That's probably a driver for moral behavior, ethical behavior, where they're like, oh, I don't want to screw somebody over. I don't want the word to get out that I screw people over or something. I don't know. Yeah.
The word should get out, though, for the no replies. You should just be like, so here's who no replied me. I should post on Facebook or Instagram or something every time. I know.
How about this, Dan? When somebody no replies you, and then a few years go by and they reach out, they're like, hey. And you're like, hey. Yeah, hey.
Now you're replying. Yeah. Like, it's too late. I hate you already.
I hate you. I'm going to no reply you now, and then you can imagine that I hate you for some reason, and you'll be right.
But that's not saying we're in too much contact for it to work with you. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like one no reply from you. I'm talking about like,
oh no,
I haven't heard from you in a while. What's up? And then
carries greater weight.
Back.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So you just, but isn't that actually sort of true too? If you're like, hey, I haven't talked to you in years. What's up? You get no reply. That's an FU. Right? Like that's basically what you're saying.
I get a fair amount of texts and messages from you, and I'm replying to most of them. But I think what happens is if I didn't reply to one or two, in my mind I might have a memory of I did reply because I've replied to so many. So it is less important then, yeah.
Yeah, but if you text someone that you haven't seen since college and you go, what's up? Or your 20s or something, and then they no reply. That's a clear statement to no reply, you know?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a hostility. And every now and then, like I said, some people can be hostile, but other people, I'm like, why in the world are you hostile to me? I can't even imagine any reason. But
I don't know if it's hostility. I think, they're making a cost-benefit analysis, and they're like, oh, there's no upside to replying to this guy.
Yeah, I guess.
So I'm not going to invest the 10 seconds to type out something.
I guess.
So it's not hostility, Dan. They just are valuing you less than 10 seconds of their time.
That's right.
Does that make you feel better?
They're underestimating the downside of me tracking them down.
Tracking them down. And giving them a what for.
Yeah. Giving them a stern talking to about manners.
Definitely. So that's theory of the mind, and we're often wrong. Yeah, I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day, and he was talking about, they're going to invent a mind-reading machine someday, which, he's thinking in 3, 5, that's not going to. And he was talking to Malcolm Gladwell, by the way, who I badmouthed pretty thoroughly on one of our recent episodes. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Yeah.
Have you altered your view at all now that one of the authors that you talked about contacted you after one of the...
What do you mean?
Well, one of the authors that we spoke about
We talked about that book, The Power of Agency. Yeah. He reached out and said, thanks for mentioning the book or something. Uh-huh.
But weren't you kind of like, oh, wait, so some of the people we talk about may actually...
They may listen to us.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I like that hadn't even occurred to me.
That hadn't occurred to me. I should have realized he's in the Boston area. And I think I connected with him before, perhaps. He said he might come in and do some jiu-jitsu. So then I was a little paranoid that maybe I wasn't as generous about my comments on his book, because we did...
Because then once he comments, it's like, well, what did we say?
That's exactly what went through my mind. I said, I hope I wasn't...
Did you listen back after?
Nah. But I vaguely remember we said we didn't like the title of the book. It was too vague.
Because we can tend to being a little snarky to some of the books, even if we don't hate the book.
We're pretty snarky, yeah. I think we were a tiny bit snarky about the title and the cover, and we were snarky about one of the comments. It was like something about use all 5 senses in your environment, and we thought that was a little silly. But he had other good information.
You're not using taste all the time.
Right. That's what it was. Yeah. So we get a little snarky.
But I could picture the author being pissed, like, yeah, I know you don't use taste all the time, you pricks. You know?
Yeah, that's how I would feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I'm going to comb through my book and find one thing that you can make fun of.
Yeah,
thanks.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, he's right. Yeah, we were too snarky.
So Rogan and Gladwell.
Oh. And so Gladwell tries to make the point to Rogan that, well, if they came up with a mind reading, and Rogan goes, and then you would know everyone's exact intent and motive. And Gladwell was trying to say, well, it's more complicated than that. Most people have competing and multiple motives for what they're thinking and what they're doing. And Rogan was like, no, you don't get it. If we both have it, then we both know what each other's thinking. And he couldn't get that concept that, it's pretty muddied. If I could peer into your brain, Dan, there'd be I picture a long sort of boardroom table with 12 people talking at the same time. Yeah. One a little bit louder than another, right?
Right. I mean, the state of mind reading right now is like if you sit in a machine, an expensive machine, they're like, we can tell you're feeling an emotion right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the
vaguely,
extent of
vaguely,
probably,
sort of,
with by percentages. Like that's the state of,
I think we tend to oversimplify all this stuff.
Mind
right?
is ridiculous.
I think it is, right?
Yeah.
I heard that about. I think it was Doug Lyle. It might have been another scientist talking about our hormones. You know, people talk about dopamine and serotonin and all this stuff, and they oversimplify, like, oh, this is the happiness hormone, this is the such and such hormone, and apparently these things are coordinating in very complicated, intricate recipes. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just pick out serotonin or one of these or dopamine and tweak that and change somebody's state. You know what I mean? It's way more complicated. And they're finding genetics is like that. There's not like one gene. Well, if I just flip this gene on, you're going to grow hair on your head or something. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's 10,000 different genes coordinating in a certain way that get this result, you know?
Yeah. People don't realize how much, especially in medicine, we're just like Neanderthals, you know, we're just like barely know how to do anything, you know?
Yeah, the brain and the mind is pretty complex. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the brain.
Yeah.
We can't. I mean, if there's a cut in the nervous system, we don't know how to fix it yet. You know, we can't even
That's
put it back
amazing,
together.
right?
You know, we can't do anything, let alone read the electrical impulses in the brain and know what someone's thinking. There's literally trillions or more than trillions.
Yeah, and think about this,
you
Dan.
know,
If somebody had a candid conversation about what their motives and intents were, some people probably don't even understand all their motives and intents themselves. So how's somebody else going to intuit them? Very tricky, right?
Yeah.
But we do it all the time. It's somehow, that's the theory of mind, that somehow has gotten us to where we are today, is we look at people and we think we know what they're thinking, and they think they know what we're thinking, and so forth. And somehow that works to build a civilization, but it's all kind of inaccurate anyways. Isn't that weird?
And And have you ever been on the wrong side of it, where someone attributed a motivation to you that you're like, that's not what I meant at all, or like, that's not what I was trying to do at all, right? Like, where they just think, oh, you were trying to get at this, or you were trying to imply that, and you're like, no, I wasn't. You know, and that's
sometimes my facial expression could be too serious, and that throws people off. They start assuming all kinds of criticism, and that just doesn't exist. It's not
again,
there.
Especially as the head of an academy, I think, you know, if you just kind of walk like straight-faced, like stone-faced to your office and walk past someone, they'll be like, he hates me. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
in that
you're
case,
like,
probably
and meanwhile,
do.
you're like, I was just thinking about, like, I had to
a
go
lot of
pick up
times
a
I start
package after this,
thinking deeply or focusing. I think I get a look that people think is critical or something. Maybe, I don't know.
I used to all the time here. Like, I'd be walking around and people would be like, what's wrong? And I'd be like, nothing.
Nothing. Just people are not responding
But
to my emails. Yeah.
But I sometimes would also be like, I remember this exchange where it'd be like, what's wrong? And I'd say, nothing. I'd say, you look mad. And I'd be like, no, I'm not mad. And they go, well, you look mad. And I'd be like, I'm starting to get mad. You know what I mean? I'd be like, you know, it's like, you look annoyed. Like, well, yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah. Keep coming.
Yeah. But that was like a routine thing. I don't even know. I haven't heard that in a while. So maybe I'm like looking happier now, or maybe just no one's saying it anymore. I don't know.
You've just alienated everybody.
No one cares anymore.
Yeah. They're not responding.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like college where people are like, oh, are you unhappy? Now people are like, you unhappy? I don't give a shit. You know? So they don't even say anything. Like, you look unhappy, but I'm not even going to mention it. Who cares? Maybe that's the difference. I don't know. I got in the habit, since I was the head of the academy, is always asking people, how you doing? How you're feeling? Is your body okay? You healthy? And, I think I'm doing it a little bit less now. I don't know. But I found that nobody was asking me that back. Yeah. Didn't you mention once on this podcast, at the start of every podcast, you'd be like, how you doing? And I'd answer, and you were like, you never said back in the history of the podcast, how are you doing? Like, I never.
That's exactly correct.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The old back in the 7 out of 10 days.
Back in the old
what happened to the 7 out of 10 days?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened with that.
I'm still a 7.
Dan, I had an idea. I was listening to one of these crackpot writers on Medium or something, and he actually had kind of a good idea. It's about an accountability. He called it partner, but I liked, I got it from South Park, accountability buddy. I know you're not a South Park fan, but Butters, they somehow thought Butters was maybe gay or bi-curious, so they sent him to one of these crazy Christian or Catholic camps where they were going to deprogram him.
This is a setup for great wisdom.
Yes. And he had an accountability buddy with some other little camper. I just thought that's a funny term, accountability buddy. But I noticed you and I...
But it's actually a usable concept, right?
It's a usable concept. So what you and I have kind of like... South Park has tons of wisdom. We've stumbled upon this. We text each other, or wait, not on a daily basis, but fairly often, I would think, right?
Yeah.
And
It's too embarrassing to get too fat when you're checking in.
there's something to it that helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so what this guy had was
Or for me also when I'm like, I'm not even going to weigh myself, and then you send a weight, I'm like, all right, I'll. By the way,
I did notice one time you said, well, I'm not weighing myself for 2 days or something.
Yeah. I was like, I got to lose some weight before I weigh in.
Yeah.
But now I'm at this super light weight. I actually told you.
Yeah, Dimitri,
before
we
the
found
fight.
out today Dan is lighter than me today. Wow,
Yeah,
this is
I
a
passed
historic
him.
moment. Yeah.
I don't know the last time. I think I went like literally 25 years without weighing myself. Like I just never cared.
I would guess this is the first time in 20 years that you're lighter than me. I think
It could.
probably,
be.
right? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You were getting kind of heavy some of those days. Not a few
Oh,
years
that's
back.
true too. Yeah. I got a little chunky there. Yeah.
But I also, I haven't been weight. So I wish I had, so I could be like, oh, I'm back to the weight I was at this age or that age. I don't know. I just have no idea what I weighed at different ages.
Probably pretty far back.
Yeah. I remember what I weighed like at the end of high school, and that I don't remember any other time, I just don't know. So
I was
I'm
puny in high school. but
really
yeah.
light now. But the thing is, my weight loss was at such a in the last 5 days, it's like 10 pounds down or something. So now I'm like, is it like a wasting disease or something? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, have we spent this whole time on this is going to make the whole podcast seem really awkward for people that listen later. And they hear all this advice, like what you need to do, a calendar and all this stuff that said, like, you need to put
Turns
an X
out it
on the
was just a
calendar. And
disease.
then it's like, he was very ill. like you're giving out life advice and you were dying. You know what I mean? Like,
Won't you be embarrassed?
yeah, it'll be and then all the people following the advice will be like, Jesus Christ, I took advice. Like I have a calendar. I'm making X's on it. And he was losing weight from a wasting illness. So I'm hoping that's not the case, because that'll mostly because I want to live, and secondly, because that'll make like the podcast seem silly. The last few episodes, anyway, that we talked about
That'll be embarrassing.
Right?
Yeah. Let's hope that's not the case.
You'll have to backtrack on all the advice. Be like,
Let me
well,
guess. And you've reached out to your doctor and he hasn't gotten back to you, right?
yeah, he doesn't return the text. Doesn't spend 10
Oh.
seconds to go.
So accountability buddy,
Yeah.
Dan, back on
Yeah,
track. So this guy, I think his name is Ben Hardy. I think we read and probably snarkily reviewed some of his writings here on the podcast. So his accountability buddy thing is texting your accountability buddy in the morning 3 things you're going to get done that day. And then at night, you text them with what you got done and what you're going to do the next day. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea, but I don't think I'd do it. There's too.
Well, I'm going to start doing it.
Let me tell you two.
I'm going to start doing it to you.
But here's
so
two,
I can get
here's
some
two
stuff
problems
done,
with it.
'cause I need to get
But
some
you're
stuff
getting
done.
sort of locked into it then. Like, I don't like to be locked into anything. I'm always like moving on from things. It's sort of bad quality of mine, but I'm always like, I don't like being stuck and locked in. It doesn't really help for like career, for example. But like, you know what I mean? Like each
You're an
time
independent spirit.
I just don't, I don't know what
No, I
it is.
hear
I'm
ya.
just like, wait, so I have to send it every day? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
so that's the main thing.
All right. Well, you
It could
will
be-
be my accountability buddy, and I won't be yours.
Okay.
You can
That I
still
can do.
text. You can still text me your weight if you want.
Okay. That I can do.
All right.
Like every couple days the weight gets sent. That's not like locked in. See, that's what I'm saying. That's like a level of like, okay, that I can do. Like, but like
Yeah.
every day
we actually
when you
made
get
no
up, I'm
commitment
like, I don't
about
wanna
it
be
either.
Committed. Yeah.
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 And
There's never.
I just started sending you my weight, and then you were like, "Well, I guess I got to send mine back," but you don't have to do it every day.
And so, what are the things I'm going to get done
You don't have to do anything. I'm going to send you 3 things I'm going to get done
that day?
that day, and we'll see what happens.
Are you going to do 3 things every day?
Maybe I'll start with 2, Dan. We'll see,
Yeah.
or 1.
Because you might have to be like, because you could start like scraping. Be like shower. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That would be once you get to 3, you're like, well,
No, Dan, I have so many dopey things that I'm procrastinating on that I have to get done that I'm not doing.
But you don't want to hear what I have to. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking, texting. I'd be like, I gotta rake the leaves. You know what I mean? You're gonna be like, oh Jesus Christ, I have to listen to this.
Well, yeah. So don't send it. I'm gonna send you my stuff, and you
Okay.
don't even have to read it. I think the act of me sending it is gonna more likely make me fall through.
I'll read it though. I'll read it. I'm just warning you.
And never hear from Dan again.
can't-
That would be great.
Hello?
All right.
I'm going to read it because you're not accountable if I don't read it.
Right.
You know, you can say.
Yeah.
And wait, then you have to say whether or not you did it, right?
At the end of the day. Yep. And
We'll
you got to
see.
come up with the 3 things for the next day. So you're you're not like jumping up in the morning.
My
trying to figure it out.
prediction is that I don't think you can sustain it. We'll see. I'll be interested because I picture that you'll be like, well, like there'll be so many times where you're like, well, I sort of got that done, but I couldn't because I was working on this other thing. And like, I don't want to explain it. And
I agree, Dan. There's a lot of things that I've done in my life that have not been sustainable. But that's not to say I didn't get a short-term boost from doing them. You know what I mean? But they tend to run out after a while. Like they lose their magic and their effect. It's like when you get a tattoo, it's all exciting and cool, and then you stop actually even seeing it. It's like we have this signage in our academy that's have very positive messages. What are you going to learn today? The power of commitment, things like this. And after a while, you just stop seeing it. Like it just blends into the background. Yeah. So yeah.
One more thing about our weight loss that I was thinking that's crazy.
All right.
That between the two of us,
Uh-huh.
and people know us, and like the way that most people listening, not everyone listening knows us, but of the people that know us, they know like the way you're picturing us looking like we've lost between the two of us. Is it fair to say we've lost 40 pounds between the two of us?
Could say that. Yeah.
And all I'm saying is we were not walking around like humongous lumbering, like we weren't lumbering around.
Right.
We're 40 pounds down now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
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 It makes me think like I think people out there have a lot more weight to lose. Not everyone, of course. There's lots of people listening and at the gym that are physical specimens and you have nothing to lose. I get it. But a lot of other people have more weight to lose than they think.
I think so. I think if you fall in the habit of eating the typical American diet, it's really, really hard not to put on weight.
Like I know my mom was talking about my dad and being like, he could lose 10 pounds. And it's like looking back, it's like, or 60. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people think I could lose 10. And I don't think I realized that I could lose 20, 25 pounds and be like feeling
good,
fine and good.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
And it's provable because I'm also going to the gym, like I said, and my strength and my cardio is better than ever. So it's not like I'm, it's not like
So
I've
you probably don't have a
starved
wasting
myself.
disease.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. I mean, time will tell.
That's awesome. Dan, I had a quote I was going to read, and we never got to it. But we're almost out of time. What do you think? Should I just... We
One
could wrap
quote?
it up with the quote. It would be kind of inspiring for people. Because you had mentioned how... And this quote comes from through 2 sources. One is this guy, James Clear, who wrote a book, Atomic Habits. Very good book. He has a great blog. He sends out an email every Thursday that's pretty good, actually. It's short. Has some good little pithy things to it. And this one, he's talking about this book called The Inner Game of Tennis, written by Timothy Galway. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And he's got kind of a cool quote here that I think anybody who's training in jiu-jitsu and maybe they're feeling like they're not progressing the way they should, they might find some solace and some wisdom in these words. You want to hear it?
I do.
Okay.
Although I've always been super happy with my progress in jiu-jitsu. So
This is a little frou-frou. I don't know if that's the right word, but
right.
we're
just
manly
granted.
enough,
You're
we can
saying,
do it.
look, I know.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. When we plant a rose seed in the earth, and when I think of you, Dan, I think of rose and rose seeds.
Well, thank you, John.
We notice that it is small, but we do not criticize it as rootless and stemless. We treat it as a seed, giving it the water and nourishment required of a seed. When it first shoots up out of the earth, we don't condemn it as immature and underdeveloped, nor do we criticize the buds for not being open when they appear. When we stand in wonder at the process taking place and give the plant the care it needs at each stage of its development. The rose is a rose from the time it is a seed to the time it dies. Within it, at all times, it contains the whole potential. It seems to be constantly in the process of change, yet at each state, at each moment, it's perfectly all right as it is. What do you think?
Very nice. I think we should always end the podcast with an inspirational quote.
I think so. And then James clears.
I'm also happen to be at the phase where it dies, but
The rose seed, however, is both content and ambitious. We were talking about that, I think, the last episode, about being sort of discontent after we achieve our goals. Yeah, we're kind of the bloom is off the rose for us. Is that what you're trying to say?
well, I don't want to ruin our. I don't want to add too much snark to the inspirational quote. I'm not sure it has all the potential at all phases, because at the
doesn't?
At the end phase,
Doesn't it have seeds though at the end?
Does it?
Where do the seeds come from?
I don't know. Maybe when it's in its prime.
Right, but then it creates seeds and it all starts all over again, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But that particular plant just dies.
Yeah. And it becomes fuel for the next plant, right?
Right.
You're going to be fuel for something.
That's
Dan.
good.
Soylent Green is people. Remember that movie? All right. I think we've gone off the rails.
Anyway.
We got to wrap this up.
Inspirational quote.
We'll end everyone with an inspirational quote.
Sounds
Not all about roses, but this rose seed is both content and ambitious. It's perfect,
Right.
Dan. Perfectly all right as it is in each moment.
Right.
But that doesn't mean sit on the couch and eat potato
No, but it
chips.
applies to jiu-jitsu.
Definitely. Means get out there and get after it and be content with getting after it. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening, folks. Tell your friends about it. Rate and review it. Share it. And we'll talk to you next week.